Thank you, Wahab. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to tonight's IG Live called Representation Matters. It is the Arab and Muslim Stories edition. My name is Jihan Hakim, and I'm an educator, community organizer, and professional ranter about all things culturally responsive. Um, I'm deeply passionate about conversations about like identity, representation, storytelling, and what it means to navigate the world as being Arab and being Muslim, and more broadly as people of color. So, like, so much about ourselves are, and often like how others see us is shaped by stories. And stories that are told about us, and the ones that are ignored. So this is why today's guest is so important. And this conversation feels especially important right now because May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. You know, while the Middle East or the Arab world is not necessarily, we don't really call ourselves Asian, but it is inside of the continent of Asia. So maybe we'll claim a little bit of that. um, and also in addition to that, today is Nakba Day, and it is a day of remembrance, reflection, and recognition of Palestinian history, displacement, and the ongoing struggle. So, tonight is really about like centering our voices and reclaiming our narratives and talking honestly about visibility and belonging and solidarity and the power of authentic representation in the media, in education, and everyday life. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you all and our guest today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment or in the chat, and I'll try my best to lift them up. Our guest today is Wahab Algarmi. Welcome.
Hi, assalamu
Uh,
alaikum. Thank you.
Alaikum
Thanks for
salam.
having me.
Yes, of course. Wahab Algarmi is the writer and artist of the recently released graphic novel called Almost Sunset. And Wahab has been teaching and making comics and creating a community space for other artists in the Bay Area for years now. Although we just met recently, and I'm so glad that we were able to meet, and so glad that we were able to share his story, his book, and his journey with you all. He currently resides in Oakland with his wife and his three children and two bunnies, um, where he is at hard at work on his next book called Breaking Point. So welcome, Brother Wahab. And today we'll just do kind of like Q&A style, just to kind of get to know you. And I think the very first thing that was super interesting to me, and for people just discovering your work for the first time, how do you describe yourself and your creative journey?
Sure. I find myself like very average. Um, uh, Artistically, I'm so much a nerd, and I love art, and that is a big part of my life. And it was just growing up loving art and finding a way to learn it and to execute it. And I see myself as an artist very much, very much so.
That's really cool. And I don't think we have a lot of, at least in America, Yemeni Americans that are into art or even encouraged a Yemeni American who's taken his like, passion into actual, tangible work.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. My parents may not have understood, what I was doing, but they understood the passion that was behind it. So they just kind of left me to my own design in that regard. I think the more we stay here, I think I'm like, one of the earlier generations. Maybe Yemeni have been here since like the 60s, maybe early 60s, late 70s. My parents came late 70s, and now that we're growing and there are more and more generations, inshallah, we're going to open up doors in various fields, and we're going to get to see more people like myself.
Inshallah. Yeah, I'm excited for that. So, um, you shared a little bit about your journey, just a tad about like when your family came and maybe not being understanding about what this creative journey looks like. So, I want to start with Almost Sunset. How much of Hassan from the book, how much of his story comes from your own childhood and your experience navigating your identity growing up?
Sure, I'm going to get a little nerdy here and say the plot is him, and then the character and the themes are me. If that makes sense in a way.
Okay.
So all the things that he's doing, like he's playing soccer and he's fasting for the first time, or he's got this coach or whatever. Those are all elements of Hassan, and then he's got his mom and his dad, and that's his house. Those are his elements. But the way he feels the way he's like stressed out about things, that's me as a child. So
Mm.
that's the combination of me and him in that story.
That's really cool. That's really cool. You shared parts of the story where during the webinar that we were in together, that parts of the story were inspired by your son. And what was it like for your children to react to the book, and like what kind of conversations did you all have about being like Yemeni or Muslim or just being represented in literature?
There wasn't a lot of conversation per se. I think, alhamdulillah, like the more we grow up, the more, especially like in Oakland, in a very diverse city like that, we're exposed to like all these different cultures and communities. So he got to see a lot of that. My other kids got to see a lot of that. So it was just like when they saw me working on it, on my book, it was like, oh, this is a normal thing to do. So they didn't see it as like, wow, man, diversity. We're, getting, we're being seen in the world. I don't think they ever saw it like that. I think they just thought like, this is really cool. We're going to tell our little story in the world. And that's pretty much how I see it too. Like, um, I'm sharing something, but it's not like it's something crazy. I've had a number of different friends from different walks of life that have gotten to share their stories. I'm just the next person to do that. And I'm so happy that I had that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really humble of you. I will say that I do believe that these kind of stories are, alhamdulillah, we have a lot more now than we did like when I was growing up. I'm an 80s baby, and growing up, there were like no books that I could
Yeah.
see myself in, whether it was name wise or characters or anything like that. I remember so I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I would go to the public library and I'd pick up books about Spot, if you remember Spot the dog. Um,
Yeah.
so there were books in Arabic that were the
Oh,
character Spot.
that was in Arabic.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
I
that
think
book.
that's in
Yeah.
English too.
Yes, yes, yes. But I'm saying like that was the only book that I remember that was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
okay, this is kind of cool. Like I know that I used to go to weekend school at the masjid, and we learn a little bit of Arabic there, but I mean to see books. So it is really remarkable is what I'm trying to say, is that it is
Oh, yeah.
amazing and remarkable. And maybe your kids don't see it as a big breakthrough because alhamdulillah they're living in a different
Better
time, and
time. Yeah.
also their dad is doing it, so it's pretty awesome. But I think a lot of educators and school districts that I've worked in, it's sort of scarce out there for having books for, especially for younger kids and K through 12. Um, population that is kind of easy and relatable. The whole theme of today is called representation matters, and it definitely does, because like when kids see themselves in these books, then they can be like, okay, well, like that's something I can do. So I just wanted to make sure that that it's a cool thing. um, I think something I appreciated about reading the summary of the book. I haven't yet read the book yet, and I'm looking forward to my son reading it too. Is that it shows like kind of like Muslim and Yemeni life with so much normalcy, warmth and humor, and not through stereotypes or trauma. And so, why was it important for you, or were you even intentional about making sure that the story was told in this way?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. And yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, it's a book about a kid during Ramadan. It's basically a holiday book. So why would I want to introduce any kind of like trauma or anything like that? It's not some deep-seated, like, oh my gosh, this is so deep or intense. It's a kid's
Yeah,
book about a
yeah,
holiday. It's light fare. It's supposed to be celebratory. It's definitely driven in that direction. Some of the critiques I got were, I didn't learn enough about the religion or anything. I'm like, it's not supposed to teach you about the religion. It's very much slice of life. It just happens
yeah.
to be that this life is about a Muslim life, Muslim family. Like that's it. Like I don't know what deep meaning people wanted out of that book. And not to say that I couldn't do that, but
Yeah,
it's
that wasn't the
supposed to
goal.
be. Yeah, that was the goal, is to make this
Yeah,
really happy, heartwarming story for our kids. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think I think it does deliver, because people are so what's the word? I mean, there isn't like a very broad world view understanding of, these complex identities, whether it's Arab or Muslim, because it's either like, the things that I did grow up watching, for example, whether it was like Aladdin or Lawrence of Arabia or these other like, media that was through the Orientalist lens,
Yeah.
where you there like a lot of modern societies used to kind of seeing that. And then if it's not that, the counter is like, okay, well, how come you're not teaching us about your culture or your religion? But it's like that wasn't the point. And I think that's the beauty in it, that we've always been so kind of like othered and
Yeah.
ostracized, and so the point is to make it normal, and you really did that. And so the naysayers need to really start to accept that being Arab and Muslim in America is actually normal. It's a normal thing. And
Yeah.
this kid that's playing soccer and is navigating fasting in Ramadan is just a normal American kid who actually happens to be Arab and Muslim, but he's not any different from anybody else that's navigating whatever it is that they're going through, so that's really awesome.
Yeah.
um
That goes
so
that goes into like a couple of things too. So like you mentioned Aladdin, right? Um, I I'm sure, like, I'm not trying to like say anything against the people that made that movie. It was an amazing movie, right? But there are some stereotypes there, of course.
yep.
And if you look at the people, like, I'm not gonna say they did that on purpose, but it's like, how much knowledge did they have? So when we go into the creative process, and you have people that are trying to create a story about a certain type of person, the representation absolutely matters, because then if you don't have those people, you're going to end up with stereotypes, for better or
Hmm.
for worse. And it doesn't even
Right.
matter if it's about that. It can come in so many forms that is not on purpose. That's just accidental from behind the scenes, because the worldviews aren't there. So
Mm.
representation definitely matters in a lot of ways. Even if
Yeah.
it's just like, oh no, we shouldn't do that because this or that, and research purposes, like, oh, I have to study so much about Middle Eastern culture just to understand how to create a world like the world that's represented in Aladdin, right? We get
Hmm.
past the stereotypes and get into actual, this is what it would be like, and it can still be cool. And the
Yeah.
opposite of that is true too. Like, there are a lot of stories where minorities are left off of the table. To take like a big, just broad example, does Captain America, the character, have to be written by a white person?
Hmm.
It doesn't.
No.
Is that important to the story of Captain America, or is
Right.
it more important that that is an American voice?
Right.
Uh, that, like, could I write Captain America? I think I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could a black person write Captain America? I think they could,
Hmm.
because it's the
Hmm.
American voice. It's not
Right.
necessarily that. So we also sometimes get pigeonholed into,
Yeah.
like, oh, you can only tell Arab stories. Well, what is that exactly? And
Hmm.
I tried to
Hmm.
do a story, was like, it could be any kid, just happens
Right.
to be this Arab kid.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's what's up. I appreciate that. I think for sure the anti-Muslim or the Islamophobic, engine or machine is really well funded and very deliberate. There is an intentionality behind pushing messages, images, like bombarding people in order to really hate our kind, and they've done an amazing job, because it's been 25 years since 9/11, and we're still here trying to prove our, right to exist and be
And
normal.
again, some of that is maybe intentional, and some of that is definitely not intentional.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have creative friends now that are working in, storytelling industries like film, animation, comic books, and I can see their work, and I'm like, oh, that looks a little racist, or that looks a
Hmm.
little off. But
Yeah,
I know this person isn't racist or anything.
yeah,
Like, there's no ulterior motives to it. I just
yeah.
know that their worldview is limited on what they're doing, and they just need to
Hmm.
be educated on that. And I
Guided.
think yeah, guided through that. But
Hmm. Hmm.
it takes time, and it takes cultural awareness, and just getting other stories out there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of good intended people that have drank the Kool-Aid or just don't know any better.
Don't know
And
any better. It's so
yeah.
seeded. Cultural identity and the arts and all of that, just design. Everything in our world is designed. The room behind me is designed. The room that you're in is designed. My clothing, your clothing, everything we
Right.
have is designed with intention and purpose. And
Yeah.
sometimes it just, whatever is there in the back of our heads really pushes forward into that. And I think sometimes
Hmm.
it's just, we have to get past some of stereotypes and realize, why am I designing it this way? Why does this
Yeah.
represent
Yeah.
like if you design a giant like alien monster and you give him, you know, a certain hairdo or certain clothing and like a curved dagger, oh, does that
Mm.
just mean he's an alien, but he's actually an Arab alien? You know,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
so many things that just go into it. Like we need to catch those things.
Right.
But I don't think they're all intentional, for sure. Not all of it.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. I just meant like, corporations and media conglomerates, those that really control the narrative on a broad spectrum, especially globally, and even how it plays into foreign policy. That right there is, they're doing that on purpose. But your everyday folks that don't know any better, even those in education that I've interacted with, I know that there are some people with good intentions. It's just they need to be um, guided, maybe have to unlearn some of those biases that they've kind of picked up over their
Yeah.
lives because if you look at I think they did a study, this is pretty old, when an African American person commits some kind of crime, it's always a mugshot of them and looking all angry or whatever. And then when it's a white man who does it, especially particular a white man or a white person, then it's they're a lone wolf and it shows them as a child. You know what I mean? So there's this narrative that's being pushed, that's programming people to feel a type of way about a certain type of people. So like people have to really unlearn all those things. And like I think people like you and I and others in our circles, I know that's why I do what I do. It's like I grew up in a certain generation where it was tough being Arab or Muslim or openly hijabi. And I'm just so happy to see that those things are changing because of Arab voices, Muslim voices, diverse voices. So, next question. A lot of young Arabs and Muslims today are navigating, multiple identities at once, whether it's culturally, whether it's spiritually, socially, online. So, do you think this generation is sort of like redefining what it means to be Arab and Muslim in America now versus how we grew up?
Oh wow. Yeah, I think they are, but I also don't think that's specific to Arab Americans. I think that's a generational thing that's always constantly happening across all different diverse, landscapes.
Hmm.
And it's just their turn. It's our kids' turn.
Yeah.
It's that's always happening. I think. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm so glad that it is our turn because everybody deserves to be seen and heard and recognized and celebrated, right? So, as someone in education, I'm always thinking about like what young people need to feel seen, to feel heard, and what advice would you give schools, educators, or even libraries that genuinely want uh, Arab and Muslim students and students, marginalized generally to feel like represented, safe, and understood beyond the surface level diversity.
I'm sorry, I cut out for a second. You were saying, what can I say to librarians and teachers about diversity or wanting to help push
Yes,
diversity?
to help them help students feel seen and represented beyond just the surface level stuff.
I think for me out here in the Bay Area, and actually, honestly, like across the country, I was so surprised at how amazing. I mean, I already knew, but I was so surprised at how great and gracious librarians and teachers are. Some of those have been my biggest supporters. I'm so happy about that. Independent bookstores have been great as well. And what I would say to another way that they can help, because they've already been doing an amazing job, is to talk to the other side of that equation, which would be the publishers and the editors and the creators that are out there making the content. I don't
Hmm.
know if you remember from like a few years back, there was like this movement, like the Oscars too white. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think story creation in general, or like
Hmm.
entertainment in general, is a little, I hate to say it, but a little too white, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Not so
uh,
diverse, yeah. Or not
yeah,
diverse at all.
not it's like and if it is diverse, it's like I have to tell this specific story. I have to tell
Hmm.
the Arab story. I'm
Or the
like
struggle story.
yeah, for me it wasn't a struggle story, alhamdulillah, but like like I'm 47, right? I've been making comics my whole life. I finally got tapped to publish something but I've been around making comics, and I've never gotten that opportunity until somebody was like, "Hey, let's make your
Mm,
story." Why couldn't
yeah.
I have? I think I'm still good enough. Even before that, like, why couldn't I make other stories?
Yeah.
And not just that, like, why are we limited? Like, if, like, okay, my story is out there. We have a Ramadan story about a kid. Why can't we have another one that's that
Mm-hmm.
that can be similar? Is there
Right.
not enough room for that? That
Mm,
sounds kind of insane to me. There's room
yeah.
for that for sure. And I think as far as the librarians and teachers go, they're the ones that are able to get these books. They're buying them into their systems and things like that. And they need to let the publishers and the editors know that kind of representation really does matter, and they're hitting and they're important. Or just the fact that we need diverse voices writing all kinds of stories. So
Yeah.
that's how they can help. Conversation on the other side, I think they're doing a fantastic job front facing with the kids. And it's only getting harder in this country with book
Yeah.
bans and things like that, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I think
Mm-hmm.
they're doing a great job in that sense, and having an open environment for people that want to learn and people that want to read all kinds of books. And it really is, I think, on the opposite side of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, so what y'all heard was Brother Wahab telling y'all to go out there and do the outreach, go out there and look because, creatives like him and others do exist and they have existed for a while, and it's just you kind of have to go out there and do the work. And that's what dismantling, white supremacy or racial injustice looks like. It really does look like you have to go and do the work. So um, before I
I
tell
think
people where to find you, oh, go ahead.
I think it's more than just like dismantling white supremacy, because I'm coming from the lens of like people have good intentions, and I said that earlier about other artists that are creating. I think it's more awareness. So if librarians are out there talking to the people that are in charge of buying books and creating the books and giving people opportunities, they need to see like, oh, it's not just like a white voice that can do this kind of story.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, what I would use as an example. I'll just use the biggest book that I know, and I'm not going to hurt his feelings probably. Dave Pilkey is the Dogman creator,
Mm-hmm.
Captain Underpants.
Right.
There is nothing stopping a person of color from creating something like that and giving a person of color that opportunity to create something like that.
Yeah.
But to be like, oh, I have a quota, and I don't know that editors or publishers have a quota, but like they say, I already have a brown author doing this kind of book right here. I don't need
Yeah.
another one. That's
Right.
insane. I don't think you would
Yeah.
say that about another Dave Pilkey, right? Like, I already
Right.
have one white author doing this. So I think representation in that form, or even the publishers and the editors themselves, if it's an all white, like, what's the majority of your office? Is it like all white editorial force?
Right.
Is there room for people of color in there? Is there room for
Mm.
diversity? What kind of books are you? And if they are, what kind of books are you making those people work on? Are they only, if you have like a black person on staff, are they only getting the black books? Come
Yeah.
on, it's like, how are we doing? And I don't know what it's like in those offices. I'm just saying, like, these are
Yeah.
the things I think we need to talk about, because I remember when I was shopping Almost Sunset around, one of the things that really stung and got back to me was, we already have a book like this, and we're gonna bow out of it. And I was like, wow, did you even look at the content? Did you even, that was the response I got, was like, we already have a book like
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm. And
So
what was the this that they were referring to?
I don't know. That was all the input I got back, was this is the book.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a book like this already. So I don't think it would be my place to ask either, like, what the book was that they had or anything like that. I tried to guess,
Yeah.
like in a year, like if I saw anything that came out, I was like, I don't know, but
I'm really curious to know what the this was, because are they referring to a Ramadan book or an Arab book or like a soccer? Because I think Hassan, what he likes soccer, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So was the this the soccer? So that's
Who knows? Who knows?
yeah, that is interesting and very disappointing. So I hope that the message is clear. Embrace and celebrate and really do the work to get creative voices and make sure that people, I mean, at the end of the day, these stories, they serve a purpose. And the purpose is you're telling a story. You're also making children feel seen and heard. And that just, there's so many studies that show that these kind of experiences, whether it's like diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging, all these things increase academic performance, increase um, attendance, increase engagement. They do all of these things, so they go beyond just the representation. It's much more deeper, because that child now all of a sudden feels like, okay, well, I can do this. I can be a writer, I can be an author, I can be an illustrator. So having said that, what kind of tips do you have for young folks, young Arabs, young Muslims, young people of color that want to venture into this space, especially that you've been doing this for so long, and now you made it, bro, and I'm really proud of you. But like, what advice do you have for young folks trying to get in?
Keep doing it. I kept doing it. I just didn't stop. I never made a dime until I sold this book. So it was just something that I was very passionate about and kept doing. And even as I like grew older and I had like a regular day job and I had a family, I kept doing it for fun because I loved it. It was just something that was always in me. So if there's something that you really love and enjoy, keep working on it, keep studying it, and keep pursuing that passion, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't quit until you, I mean, and now there are people like you that they can refer to. And I think that that is important. There's also Salwa al-Mauri out of Michigan, who wrote Sana'a Skylights, I believe. I think all of these, I think, well, what else is there? There's poetry by Nawal Hassan from Oakland. Well, for
All right.
Sacramento, I think Oakland and Sacramento. She's a young author. So I think that, while you don't see this as a big, breakthrough or a milestone, it really does make a difference I was telling my son about the book, and he's like, "Oh, okay, that's really cool." And I was like, "The author is actually Yemeni." He's like, "Oh, really? That's even cooler." And then the character's name is Hassan, so he's really looking forward to reading it. And it's these little,
Is
it's these little.
your son's name is Hassan as well?
No, his name is Idris, but just to know
Okay.
that there's an Arab or a Muslim name, in the
Okay.
book, as opposed to just who is it? What's a common name? I don't know.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam or Clay or Clifford or whatever. So and all those characters matter too. I think the goal is not to overtake or invade. It's really just to create space for other
Yeah.
voices as well. So um where can people find you in your book?
Book is available everywhere, alhamdulillah. It's available around the world. So if you have Instagram followers that are, like in the UK or other places, they can still find it. I'm really blessed and happy, alhamdulillah. And I'm also blessed that the editor bought it and was, able to make it a reality. Again, I want to reiterate, like, I don't think like all the things that I mentioned are of nefarious reasons. It's just more education and opportunity that needs to be opened up. It's really hard too. Like, I don't think anybody wants to like step down from their position or move aside to let anybody come in, minority or otherwise. But I think it's something that really is necessary in society to make sure that that we get those opportunities, not just for giving people opportunities, but also to diversify and to understand other cultures and have more awareness and inclusivity for everybody.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
but
Even
it's
on the other
available.
side. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but the book is available everywhere. I'm online. I'm here on Instagram. People can find me if they'd like to
Okay.
message me. I check that fairly often.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going around. I've been doing. I do go to schools and do presentations. So I've been doing some of that within the Bay Area. I haven't gone too far off the beaten path.
Okay.
But I also have a new book coming out, inshallah, early next year. I'm trying to finish
Mashallah.
that. Yeah. And then I'll probably do a little bit more touring around after that.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you those who tuned in. Even if you weren't able to tune in now, this is going to be uploaded and it'll just live in the archive, and you can find Brother Wahab on Instagram. And you can Google his book called Almost Sunset. And then you could, is there a website as well?
No, there's not. Just the Instagram.
Okay. You can DM him on Instagram and invite him to your library or your school. And I think of the last piece I wanted to mention, not only is this important for fellow Arab and Muslims, and I think also other children of color can also learn about, Arabs and Muslims as well, even just through the names, through the tradition of fasting, like those kind of, they open up dialogue in order to increase, inner community unity. So I just think it's just so valuable, and I'm just so happy, and I can't wait for your next book to come out. So thanks again, Brother Wahab. Thank you everybody for joining us, and inshallah have a good rest of your weekend.
Thanks again, sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Take care. Alaikum salam.